Bryce Huff. And of course, you know, in like shorts and Instagram reels, they like chop it up and they make it into a clip. So you're not like actually listening to the whole thing when it comes to a lot of topics. And that's something right there. Like, bro, like if you're listening to something, you see somebody say something, make sure you listen to the full interview before you assume that somebody's like saying something if there's more context behind it. But you know how that is. Like anytime anybody's ever accused about something, they're like, there's the context, there's more context to the question. It's not always like that though. Sometimes kind of what they're saying in those clips, every now and then, not always, because a lot of the time there is more to it, but sometimes with those clips, man, what you're seeing and what they're saying, it matches. And Bryce Huff, he's on like a podcast with this guy. I'm gonna check out that guy's pod too, because it looks pretty dope. But Bryce Huff is on there and he's kind of like asking him kind of like what happened in Philly. And Bryce Huff gets into detail and he's all like, well, like, he's like, he talks about how it started in like OTAs and all that, and like he didn't like how they weren't doing pass rushing drills and OTAs. They were dropping back into coverage. They weren't doing, you know, what he came there to do was be a pass rusher. And then he talks about how like before training camp, before they starting to do training camp, is it before or like during training camp? I don't know, but one of the an Eagles beat writer who, dude, I really don't get along. Like I don't know. A lot of Eagles beat writers I really don't mess with. There's a couple that are actually really good, but a lot of them, it's like, bro, they're just trying to like stir the pot. They're always saying shit. So from that perspective, I understand what Bryce Huff is saying, but right. So that's something that he said. He said, hey, before or during training camp, there was writers like writing stuff about me, like, oh, I'm not good against the run. I'm not this and that. And he's like, and then of course, once they said that, he's like, the fans ate it up. I don't remember that. At all. There were a couple people that were like questioning if Bryce Huff could be good, but for the most part, I feel like most Eagles fans were like, let's wait until the regular season comes to see how good he is, right? Like you weren't hearing a lot about Bryce Huff in training camp. You weren't hearing a lot of positive things with Bryce Huff in training camp, but I feel like for the majority of Philadelphia Eagles fans, if you were to hop on X, a lot of them were like very optimistic and they were like, hey, let's see how it plays out during the regular season. Because like, I don't know, dude, Philly fans will remember this. So when we got Patrick Robinson, is that when what team did he come from, dude? Did he come from the New Orleans Saints and he went back? I'm trying to remember, but the Philadelphia Eagles during training camp, Robinson was getting burned. Like he was playing corner for the Eagles and he was getting burned in training camp. You'd hear about it all the time. And just, I don't know, like magically, no, but for whatever reason, in that 2017 run for the Philadelphia Eagles, dude, Patrick Robinson, he just turned it on. He just turned it on and flipped a switch. He's playing like, if I remember right that year, I think he was playing like a top 7, top 8 cornerback in the league. Dude, he was balling. So like, I remember during training camp with Bryce Huff, the reporters, they weren't very like positive about him, and they saying he wasn't really like beating anybody. And I'm like, all right, you know, I'm like, I've seen that before. Like, let's see how it plays out in the regular season. We get into the regular season with Bryce Huff, and you gotta remember, the Eagles gave him, what was it, like a $50 million contract or some shit? Let me look that up. How much did the Eagles pay Bryce Huff? How much? Because I gotta remember how much they paid him. Yeah, they gave him a 3-year, $51.1 million deal. So they paid him good money. 3-year deal. And I remember, you know, this past season, well, not this past season, but the 2025 run, the first 4 weeks you could just see it. Dude. And they like show like replays of Bryce. He was like slipping, like a lot of the tackles were like anchoring him. He just really wasn't getting a good pass rush. And it was like, ooh, oh man, we might be in trouble. You know, it's like, we might actually be in trouble, guys. My dog gonna lay down. I'm gonna let him out. Hold up real quick, guys. Hold up. All right, I'm back. But no, I remember the first 4 weeks with Bryce Huff. You could kind of see it. What some of those reporters were saying. It was like, oh shit, dude, he kind of doesn't look good. But in those first 4 weeks, first 4 to 5 weeks, the Eagles also weren't good. Like, if you guys remember that, like, everybody was already counting them out. And by that point, you know, like, Nick Sirianni shaves his head and go on the run and whatnot. But during the course of that run, dude, Clint Hurt, the Eagles defensive line coach, right? You got to think at the time. So that year, that Eagles defensive line was balling. Everybody was balling, right? Milton Williams, he ends up getting the contract, going to the New England Patriots. You got Josh Sweat. He had a monster year that year. He ends up going to the Arizona Cardinals. You got Jalen Carter balling out. You got Jordan Davis balling out, right? Nolan Smith is doing a pretty solid job. And they bring in, that year, do we have Mario Jomo? I think they might have had Mario Jomo. Let me see. I'm trying to remember. People are like, you ain't an Eagles fan. I'm just trying to remember, dude. Because let me see. Mario Jomo's going into his 3rd year. And yes, I'm pretty sure he was there that year. Because, let me see, 2025 Eagles NFL draft. Because they got Mario Jomo in the later round, but they also got Jalen Hunt in the 3rd round, right? So this Eagles defensive line was deep as hell that year, dude. 2025 Eagles draft. And that's the part that was crazy to me. Not the 2024 draft, my bad. Because it was the 2024 year. Gotta go back. Yeah, my bad. The 2024 draft, not 2025. My bad. Because that's the year Philly went to the Super Bowl. But yeah, dude. So that's the year they got Q, they got Coop, they got freaking Jalen Hunt. And dude, do we not have Mario Jomo? Maybe we didn't have Mario Jomo. My bad. I apologize. But Mario Jomo is another player who Clint Hurt would go on to develop in the trenches of this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. So there's a lot of people on this line throughout the years that have had a lot of success under Hurt and under Vic Fangio. And so you have Bryce Huff on the team, and it's like, dude, what is wrong with this dude? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't he having a lot of success? And I'm gonna look up one more thing real quick, so I just want to be sure. Like, I want to like fact check myself. So I'm like getting the years mixed up. We're like drafting players, dude. Yeah, okay, yeah, we did have Mario Jomo. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl versus Kansas City. I was right, dude. I was second guessing myself. They had Mario Jomo. They had Jalen Carter. They had Jordan Davis. They had a rookie Jalen Hunt. Dude, like, oh my God, bro. They were so deep. They were so deep. Like, let's look at the Eagles defensive line that year. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head on a live. Like, obviously I know, but I just can't think off the top of my head. 2024. What's D-line? Just so I don't forget anybody. But let's see who was on the line that year. Yeah, dude, Jalen Carter, just like I said it, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Mario Jomo in the middle, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, and then you got Bryce Huff. Dude, that Eagles defensive line was eating. Everybody on that defensive line was eating that year. But for whatever reason, Bryce Huff wasn't. And I remember Bryce Huff, like he said, he got hurt versus the Giants. He hurt his wrist, and he was out for a period of time. And when he came back, by that time, it was like the young guys, Nolan and Jalix, they just took over. They did. And we just never really saw Bryce Huff all that much, dude. And at that point, it was like the Eagles are going to get rid of him in the offseason, you know? And that's what happened. They ended up trading him to San Francisco 49ers. And, you know, like on the pod, he's basically talking about it. And he's like, the guys all trying to ask questions. He's like, I don't really want to get into it, but it was weird. It was weird once I got back. And there's just other things he's talking about. It's just like, oh, this is weird. The fans and the way they latched onto this, it was weird. And I, you know, I'm not in the building. I wasn't in the situation, so I don't really know what Bryce Huff went through. But the fact that a young Jalen Hunt in his rookie year was a monster that year. I mean, he didn't go out and have like a crazy year. He didn't. But he showed signs of being a good pass rusher. And for Bryce Huff in that year, I just never saw it, dude. I just never saw it. And some people, you know, they'll be like, I remember when we traded him from to the San Francisco 49ers. I say we as if I'm part of the organization. I'm an Eagles fan. But when the Eagles traded him to the Niners, I remember people were like, oh, well, he'll have a lot more success there. He's a better scheme fit. He's back with Robert Saleh. He'll be good. And he did have success. Like, he did have success. What was it, on the back end of the season with the San Francisco 49ers? Because how many sacks did he end up with there? Let me see. Bryce, Huff, stats. I just remember on the back end of the season, he was actually playing good. So yeah, in the the back end of the season for the Niners, dude, he had a total, by the end of the year, he had a total of like 4 sacks. So he was balling for the San Francisco 49ers. And their pass rush was atrocious. Like, aside from Bryce Huff, it was so bad. And I mean, there was even stretches where Bryce Huff was non-existent with the San Francisco 49ers. And just like we heard in the Eagles camp, just like we heard in the Philadelphia Eagles training camp, the same beat writer, like all of them with the San Francisco 49ers, they basically say the same thing. Like, you would just never hear Bryce Huff's name in training camp. Now, I don't think he's a bad player. And I don't have anything against Bryce Huff. But, dude, I'm going to stand up for you if he's sitting here talking shit, saying how our fans, you know, the fact that he, like, kind of just, like, threw our fans in there, I was like, come on, man. Like, our fans had nothing to do with your performance out on that football field. They're not. Like, we had nothing to do with that. And, you know, I've seen other people talk about it. Like, oh, you know, the Eagles fans are arrogant. They're this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, that year, Eagles fans, even with the beat writers talking, they were very optimistic of Bryce Huff. Yes, there was a couple Debbie Downers off of the writers talking about him, but like, people were optimistic. And, you know, he didn't end up, wasn't that good at the first of the season. He ended up getting hurt, you know, and people were like, oh man, well, I guess we just like kind of like wasted money on Bryce Huff. But I didn't see a lot of like negativity. I didn't see a lot of people hella talking shit on Bryce Huff. It was just like, oh yeah, it's looking like that's not going to work out. But we have, you know, all these other young players on the defensive line, so it didn't really matter. And that, I feel like that was the overall like attitude. Like, I don't feel like people were hella talking shit on Bryce Huff. Now, the set when he was traded away from the Philadelphia Eagles to the San Francisco 49ers, and I remember he said like a couple things. Like, he didn't say anything crazy, but I don't know. If I remember, I kind of felt like there was a couple like jabs towards like the fan base and the Eagles organization as a whole. And I was just like, that's where our fans will go after you. And our fans, they do go overboard. Like the whole like Kevin Patullo throwing eggs at his house and shit. Like, I'm not getting behind that, bro. But you know, our fans are very passionate. Do they go overboard sometimes? Yes. Have I seen other fan bases go overboard as well? Absolutely. And people will downgrade that shit and just run with the narrative that Philadelphia Eagles fans are bad. And I'm just like, whatever, dude. And this, you know, in this time and age, that's what people do. If there's a running narrative, even if there's a bunch of really cool fans who talk a little smack, dude, people just run with that and call us all trash. So I'm just like, whatever. But the way it came off from Bryce Huff, you know, you see Eagles fans saying like, oh, he blamed the Eagles fans. He didn't really blame Eagles fans. But the way he said it, talking about his fans, it was like a jab. I don't really know how to describe it. Like, even, I don't know. We'll see if AJ later on down the line, if he says more things about Eagles fans and this and that. I don't really know if AJ will, though. Especially him having the success he did, dude. And there's still a lot of people with the Eagles that still love AJ, even though it didn't go down the way we liked it. And I mean, I'm a sour Eagles fan as it comes to AJ Brown. I just didn't really like the way it went down. I don't like the way he like was talking, acting, and especially when he got the Patriots. I wasn't feeling that, bro. I was like, damn, you acting like you were playing with a really bad team, even though you got a Super Bowl ring. But yeah, dude, Bryce Huff, what is he, retired now? He's not even like on a team. He's not even with the Niners. I don't know. It just felt like a jab.